Hi, Jesse with etrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the Curt custom wiring harness with 4-pole connector on our 2018 Lincoln MKX. The main reason you would want to add a 4-pole connector to the back of your car would just be anytime you're towing, it's going to keep you safe and legal on the road. And there's a lot of accessories nowadays that have lights on them. So in order to power those lights, you'll need a connector like this one. This is what your wiring harness will look like, well, the plug at least. So it comes with this nice dust cap to keep any dirt and debris out of there. And you can also use that to hang it here on the safety cable loops. Speaking of mounting it like that, you could also separately buy a bracket that would hang down here for a more permanent solution, but our neighbor today chose to just hook it up here. This kit comes with plenty of extra wire. I actually have quite a big bundle up there, but this is plenty of slack in order to hook up to any accessories or trailers that you might want to. Once again, if you plan on doing any towing with your vehicle, a wiring harness like this is absolutely essential. It's going to keep you safe and legal on the road. It's going to power your turn signals, tail lights, and brake lights. As far as installation goes with this Curt wiring harness, it's pretty simple. It plugs straight into your connectors on your tail lights here. However, to get access to those connectors, you do have to kind of peel back the fascia. So it's slightly difficult, but other than that, it's just a matter of finding a ground on the rear and running a power line to the front. So if that's not something that you plan on doing yourself, feel free to check out our dealer locator. However, if you do want to see the process that I took and the way I set it up, feel free to follow along. We're going to start our installation by removing the tail lights. So you'll have this plastic cover here. You can use anything skinny like a screwdriver or this plastic trim tool to pop that off. Then we have a T25 Torx screw here. Be careful, try and get your finger under it when you remove it or else it'll drop down into the bumper. So now we should be able to remove our tail light assembly. Just kind of wiggle it. Just be careful not to scratch anything or crack any plastic, because back in the back it's pretty thin, it's easy to crack that. Might have to peel some of this rubber molding up, get it out of your way. And once that's popped off, we'll have a electrical connector here. Just push your tab in and pull out. Now with both taillights removed, we're going to come in here to the wheel well, and we have 6 of these push pins to remove. And these will just pull out with a trim panel tool, or you could even use a flathead screwdriver to get in there and lift the center up and then pop it out. Now we just need to pull back on this fender liner, the plastic part, just held in by some clips. And then on the back is some pins, so just be careful not to put too many bends in it. Just give it a nice pull once you feel where that pin's located. And sometimes you can squeeze them back in the back and pull. So you may want to get an 8mm socket. It's the perfect size to fit over the pin. And once you push over the pin, it'll squeeze the tabs in and give you the ability to pull it out easier. So with that all off, I'm going to grab some shop rags to shove here just to hold it away from the body of the car. So put the shop rags back there. Now I can access our T15 screw holding our fascia on. Get that off. And then anything we did on this side, I will repeat on the other side. Now we're gonna work one side at a time. We're not gonna fully remove the fascia. We're just gonna pull it back far enough to run our wiring down. So just starting on the outside, these clips are pretty easy to pop out. And then once you get up here, just make sure you're lifting it up over these tabs. And once you know you're over that last tab, give it a nice pop. Again, we're not removing it all the way. We just want to get it so that we can slide our wiring through this pocket. So what I'll do is run a little bit of airline tubing down to the bottom, and then I'll go down there and tape my wiring to this airline tubing and pull it up. Before I run the wire up, I just wanted to go over a quick overview of what our harness is. So we have our 4-pole, which will connect to our trailer. And then we have our green wire, which we will run to the right side tail light. This black box will just get mounted somewhere where it won't hit anything. And then the wires that we're running up to our driver's side tail light are the yellow, brown, and white. And you'll see this ground is attached. I'm actually going to peel it down, separate it from the yellow and brown, because I'm going to find a good grounding point in the bottom of the vehicle to attach that to. Got our wires taped to the airline hose. Just need to run it up now. You may need to reach down if you get caught on things. Just kind of pull it away from the car and pull it up. And once I take this tape off, I'll show you how we plug it in. Now we have our yellow, brown, and white wire ran up. You'll see that this plug matches up perfectly with our factory plug. So slide it in. The only difference is it will have this red locking tab. So with that, once you're clicked in, you'll just push that locking tab in. Now we'll take our tail light assembly, and this plug should plug into there. And you may want to kind of tuck that wire down just so we have room to install our tail light. And we'll just reinstall the tail light how we took it off. We have a plastic box here that we need to remove just for now. So there's two 5.5 millimeter screws. Remove those. Two 10 millimeter nuts. Once we have those removed, this plastic box should come out. You may have to kind of work it. So I just tilted it this way and it pulled out. So we'll set that aside, but now we have a lot more room to work. So at this point, while everything's still hanging down and it's easy to get to, I'm gonna connect our power wire just with an extension for now. Your kit does come with these butt connectors. However, here at the shop, anytime we install wiring on the outside of the vehicle, we will always use a heat shrink butt connector. It's just gonna make a tighter seal, make sure no water or corrosion gets in there. So this end comes pre-stripped. I'll just connect our butt connector now. So you just slide it on there and make sure you're lined up with the copper, and take your crimpers, give those a good squeeze. Anytime you make a connection like that, give it a nice tug test to make sure it's not going to come off. And then for our extension cable, it does not come pre-stripped, so just take your wire strippers, cut about the same length that the other piece had off. And give those a twist, and then we'll crimp those in the same. And once we get these crimped in, I'll come by with a heat gun to shrink that up. So before I do that, I'm ready to attach our black box here. This can go basically anywhere. I'm just going to zip tie it around this wiring harness here. You just want it somewhere where it's not going to hit against anything and make any noise or damage the unit. So just right here should be fine. And I'll wrap a zip tie around it. I'll probably wrap a couple zip ties around it just to make sure it doesn't move. Take our white wire and just find a nice piece of metal to run our included self-tapper through the ring terminal. We need to run our green wire over to the passenger side, so I just ran it along between the fascia and the hitch all the way over. And once everything's plugged in and we're ready to go, I will zip tie this wire up away from the exhaust. But once it's over here, we're just gonna run it up to the tail light the same way we did the driver's side and reinstall the tail light. I'll show you how I routed the power wire to the front where the battery is. Just took it, that's where we butt connected it. Went above the subframe here, up over the axle, and brought it down along here, over the fuel filler neck, along this wiring harness, and then I used a few, well, I removed a few 10mm nuts so I could pull this skid pan down, and it's just going along the skid pan, and it comes out right here, and then I use that same fish wire technique to pull it up into the engine bay. Now we're here in the engine bay next to the battery. As you can see, I have quite a bit of extra wire here, so I'll cut off the slack. I like to leave a little bit of slack just so we can leave room for whoever comes in and removes the battery later on or does any work in the engine bay. So let's cut that and we'll strip it. And this will tie into the fuse that's included. They do come pre-stripped, but I like a little bit of copper showing, so I'll strip a little bit off the end, and then we'll butt connect this the same way as we connected that extension off earlier with a heat shrink butt connector. Get that end in. And when you're doing this, just make sure that your fuse is not installed. It should come uninstalled in the package. Once everything is wired up, we'll hook that fuse in. Stick your fuse side in. Crimp it down. And I will attach our ring terminal to this end. Once again, I'll strip a little more off. And the ring terminal that was included in our kit was actually a little too large for our mounting point here, so I actually had an extra. I'm sure the other one would have worked fine. I just like a little more metal to contact. So this is going to install essentially the same way, just crimp it down. And then I'll remove this 10mm nut here. Just be careful not to drop it when it finally comes off because you will lose it. Set that there for now. And then just slide this end of the ring terminal in and reinstall the nut. Once this is installed, we're safe to put our fuse in. Now we'll install our fuse into the fuse holder. Once that is installed, we are ready to test to make sure all of our lights are functioning correctly. Now I have our tester hooked up. If you don't have your own 4-pole tester, they are available here at eTrailer, or you could hook up to your trailer to test everything. Once everything's wired up, we'll run through all of our lights. So I should be showing my tail lights there, and then left turn, right turn, and brake. Now that we know everything works, we'll just have to clean up our wires, make sure we're not contacting any moving or hot parts. I'll take some slack out of this. Otherwise, that's going to do it for the Curt custom wiring kit on our 2018 Lincoln MKX.